10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this September 2nd, 2019 evening. And Chris, we are nearing closer and closer to Olympia weekend. We are less than 2 weeks out now, and it seems like the drama is increasing, and we're actually getting we actually got something positive happening in the Olympia this week when we got the news that Hadi Choopan somehow miraculously got a visa, maybe the only Iranian in the history of the last 2 years to get a visa into the United States. He's coming to the Olympia. He's actually in California with Hadi Rambad, and he'll be doing the Olympia.
It's good news. It's shocking, and I was 100% wrong. How many times did you ask me, is he going to get a visa? No.
I had an immigration lawyer on the TV show 2 weeks ago, and I asked him off the record. I said, "Do you think he's going to get a visa?" He goes, "No, probably not." and he was offering his services for free to help him. Oh. From what I understand, Hadi Choopan's lawyers didn't think they were going to get him in. So someone somewhere did something. Or as I said in my video that I put up, it was a collective. It was so many people who wanted to see him in the show that it was like, you know how like when everyone thinks the same thing, it creates that reality. It opens up a door somewhere, you know, between the New York Post article that that guy did and you know, interviewed me and Bob Chiccarello, and then there was the, you know, all the lawyers who were involved, and it was the IFBB and the AMI, who obviously has connections, and I even had a guy off the record, you know, that knows someone who knows Trump. So I don't know, you know, there was so many different irons in the fire. I think that it was like a critical mass that occurred, and somehow they approved his visa, and he's here. So we will see him in the Olympia. The question is now, what division will we see him in? Will he do 212 or will he do open? What do you think?
I think if I'm going to New York to buy a building, I want to buy the best one there. I don't want to buy a pretty good one.
Yeah, but you got to remember also in Iran, the title Mr. Olympia, whether it be open or 212, probably carries a lot of weight and probably will financially, you know, result in him being well compensated. You know,
you want to laugh, and listeners will laugh at this. Is if he does the 212 or wins the 212, within 30 seconds, everyone in Iran will be posting pictures of the open winner against him. So, you know, if you came to play. You came to play.
But that might even be better, though. Let him win the 212 and let people speculate he could have won the Open, and then next year he can do the Open.
Yeah, that's you know what? That's why you should be like David Zeland, who used to promote the Mr. Olympia.
That's that's how they do sequels and movies, right? People don't even realize they usually
then let me get it out.
This.
I was going to say you should be a movie producer like David Zeland, who used to promote the Mr. Olympia. He makes movies now.
He's smart. You got to lay the storyline, man, right? And let the guy win the Olympia. Give him a title. He has no title right now. He has a couple interesting wins under his belt. He beat Nathan D'Asher at the Vancouver Pro early this year in the Open. He's won a few Open shows before. He's won. A lot of people think he beat Flex Lewis 2 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago, when was it? At the Korean Pro show? He's
already beaten Brandon Too Heavy Curry.
Right, but he beat Brandon before Brandon was what he is now. So I don't.
No, he beat Brandon. He beat Brandon just 2 years ago. That's not long.
Nah, but Brandon has made tremendous improvements in 2 years. You know that. Come on.
So has Hadi.
No, he might still be able to beat him, but I don't think it's a valid comparison of comparing him from 2 years ago. But
how about this? If 2 years ago, if Brandon had beaten Hadi, I wouldn't even bring it up, and people would say, Hadi's not. Brendan's already killed him.
Yeah, but
you don't think that's in Brandon's and the Kuwaiti's mind?
I'm sure. Well, you know what? Jay Cutler said that he feels that Hadi should not do the 212 and that he should do the Open. He feels he's a top 3 guy right now.
Well, that's my whole point. If I'm going to New York, I mean, if you're going to be in it, you're in it to win it. I mean, if you're going to, just because you got a visa this year doesn't mean things may deteriorate between relations next year. And we say, you know what, tough, you're not coming.
Right, that's true. He probably should just not leave. He should probably just stay here. You're right. He might only have one shot, so maybe he should do the Olympia. The Open.
See, there you go. The Olympia. You called the Open the Olympia.
I also heard, it's funny because MD had
How
reported.
do you hear all this shit? You're having a baby, for God. Look at all this stuff.
I have people calling me. I have all the gossip hounds calling me. I saw that MD had reported that Hadi was doing the Open, and I believed it when I saw it because I thought that they had a reliable source. Evidently, they didn't. And Hani Rambod called up Ron Harris over there at MD and screamed at him and embarrassed him, and he made Ron do a retraction video, which I probably wouldn't have done had Hani called me, but because Ron obviously must have had some source, or maybe the source just wasn't good, and Blackman's, just run with it, clickbait. That's his new probably,
I can't believe that logic would not be used to make the assumption that Hadi Choopan, who just won the Open Vancouver Pro, and it's been predicted by everyone and already declared that he cannot get into the United States of America, finally gets into the United States of America and says, I'll take the B show. I'll do the 212. So for Hani Rambod to call Ron and chew him out.
Well, the reason he did that,
he's doing the 212.
But the reason he did that was he said, look, I'm the one who's deciding what he's doing, and I haven't made a decision. So how do you guys know that he's doing the Open?
So what, he might chicken out and do the 212?
Ron Harris got some information from some Iranian website or something like that was leaking something, which probably wasn't accurate. But the funny thing is that I believe, from what I heard behind the scenes, not from an Iranian website or Hani Rambod, I heard that they're having trouble getting him down to weight because they didn't think he was going to get into the U.S. Maybe they thought he was going to do the show 2 weeks after the Olympia, and his weight is high because maybe they thought he was going to do the Open. So I heard that they're having trouble getting him down to weight and that he might have to do the Open. So, but you're saying you think he should just do it.
Well, then Ron Harris would be right, for God's sakes.
He would be right for the wrong reasons, I guess. So I don't know why Hani reamed him out, but
you can be lucky and be
but
right.
Ron had to do this really pathetic video, like apologizing, like he looked like Woody Allen in the movie in the video, like with the glasses falling off his face, and I kind of felt bad for him in a sense that he had to do this thing, and I'm sure it was because Hani probably reamed out Blackman, where you guys getting this information from,
Clarify the illogic that Hadi Choopan is coming to the United States not to be in the Mr. Olympia, but to be in the 212.
Chris, but these Middle Eastern countries, if you win the if Ahmad Ashkenani wins the Olympia, the 212 Olympia, don't you think that's going to give him huge bragging rights in the Middle East?
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
Right. So I'm sure if Hadi won the 212, which is almost a guarantee for him, okay, he will go back to Iran as a hero. And then he could always regroup, and next year he can do the Open. That's how I thought it would go. But if he's obviously having trouble making weight, they're not going to try to crash diet this guy unless he needs to be crash dieted. So the question is, does he need to be 212 to be his best? If he comes in at 220, is he going to be not as dominant? And if he's not as dominant, guys like Dexter will eat him for lunch. Because you'll see all his flaws if he's not perfect. Because he doesn't. It's not like he has the smallest waist. He just has a lot of freaky muscle, and when he's in crazy condition, it's impressive.
Yeah. Well, it's all going to unfold in how many days? 12.
Well, I think he's got to I think we're going to hear an announcement, which he's got to pick what he wants to do. I think he's got to sign the contract. If anything, they're giving him they're really overextending because they think he was going to get into the show. So I don't know if he even signed a contract yet for what he wants to do, or if that's going to happen this week. Dan Solomon, when I had talked to him before doing the original interview, the original breaking news story I did when he got into the U.S., told me that because I was trying to really bullying Dan to give me the information. Dan's like, Dave, we're not making an announcement for a couple of days. I promise you. He goes, there's nothing to announce yet. I said, okay.
Dan has the perfect answer, and I don't mean that in a negative way for everything. I mean, you can't bully Dan. He's going to come out with some perfect right there. At the point in which we're ready to declare the answer, we'll declare the answer. And
I just think they really didn't know. No, because you know what? I bullied him enough that if he would have known, he could have at least told me off the record if he didn't want me to say it. So the fact that he didn't, I don't think they know yet.
Yeah, you're right. He would have told you way off.
Yeah. But I'm hearing from other people that there's a weight issue and that he might not be able to make weight. But you know what? They should call you because how many pounds did Cody Montgomery lose?
It was 20 in 3 days.
He can't be more than 20 pounds over the weight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
What you got to get King Kamali on for like a special report or something. Maybe we can get King.
He did a special report for Generation Iron. I saw that's where and he said that he heard the same thing that Hadi was having trouble making the weight. That's where I got that was one of my sources of that. So maybe I'll see if we can get him on the show this week, and we'll see because he talks to those guys and he's the Iranian connection, right?
Yeah.
I'd really love to know what got him in, what pushed it over, and who actually okayed it. If it went all the way to Trump and Trump okayed it, I would love to know, wouldn't you?
Well, listen, Dave. The fact is, you cannot get in. It has to be. It's not like. It's got
to go to the top level, right? It can't be anything else.
Senator, I told you I sat with my state senator. She's very well known, Susan Collins.
Right.
Very well known. You can just Google her name.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get Masoom Butt into the Olympia? No. I mean, in person, it's an impossibility. I spent, we wasted time on this, Chris. Goodbye.
But but Masoom Butt had some issues, didn't he? With
yeah,
with,
I know.
There was stuff like that he had on his record. This Hadi guy, it seems like he's clean as a whistle,
Yeah, but the whole country is like on the blacklist.
Right, but I think that
1979. So the point is that it didn't get okayed by the California, the shows in Vegas by the Vegas State Senate or the Senate from Nevada. Somebody with tremendous influence
got Trump to say, "Okay, yeah, you're right."
Yeah, Trump, yeah.
It's interesting. I would love to know who did it. Maybe Arnold had something to do with it. Although Arnold doesn't really get along with Trump, right?
Yeah, no, they don't not see eye to eye. They don't see nothing to nothing.
Now that he got a visa to compete at the Olympia, you think that's going to grandfather him in for like if he wants to do the Arnold or something like that? You would think once you get in, if come on, you got to go through the process again.
No.
Usually, from what I understand with the immigration lawyer I worked, once they give you a visa, it's usually for a time period. It's not just for one-time trip.
Yeah.
They can give you a work visa for, a year or two even he can get. I'm sure he had to pay money to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, that's nothing. I'm sure there's plenty of people in Iran who would say, come on, you got a chance to compete? I'll pay it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably plenty of people in the United States who'd say that. I'm sure Hani Rambam would say it. He's representing his company, right?
There's plenty of people who would pay to have, Shawn Rhoden to get in.
You know what? If Hadi Choopan can get into the Olympia, maybe Shawn Rhoden can get into the Olympia. Who knows? If I was Shawn, I'd call. I'd find out who's Hadi Choopan the lawyer was. Maybe he can work some magic.
Yeah, well.
So I heard that Shawn pleaded innocent at the hearing on the 26th. So
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's everyone. That's kind of a well-known fact now, and which we knew. We knew he was going to take a plea deal and go to jail. So that was out of the question. And so now what do they have? A court date in about 8 months, I think. Is that the deal?
Hey, I've never talked to the case about it with them.
Oh, you never even?
I've never really talked other than at the beginning, or I've talked with.
So since now that the case hasn't been dropped, at least, and we know it's going to trial, there's probably very little chance that Shawn's going to do the Olympia. What do you think he's? I mean, have you talked to him? Are you still? Does he send you updates? I mean, in terms of his conditioning and stuff like that, or is he not dieting anymore?
He's dieting. He looks very good.
Okay, so what is he dieting for now at this point? At 2 weeks out?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, so he's not. He has no intention to go to Italy then.
Unless they have a show in Iran, they let him in there.
Show in Iran. Well, there's that show in Italy, but I think he's going back to court that date, isn't he?
No, he's not going back to court that date.
What is the Italy show? What day is that? That's in October.
Yeah, that's no. I think it's a week after. I think it's the 22nd of.
Oh, I mean, is there a chance that he does that show?
I don't think there's much of a chance that you'll see him in 2019 on stage.
Right. Now, why wouldn't he? Since he's getting in shape anyway, why wouldn't he try to do a show?
There's still, there's behind the scenes stuff that's challenging for everyone.
Okay.
I just can't talk about it, but
Right.
I mean, believe me, if he could jump in a show, if he could jump in the Olympia, he'd jump in. If he could
No, I know he would do the Olympia in 2 seconds. I'm sure the fans would love it too, but obviously it's not going to happen. AMI doesn't.
But I was going to do another War of the Worlds, and because you're not going to be at the Olympia, I was going to get like Milos and Samir, and Milos could say, yes, I just saw Shawn Rhoden. He's in the best condition of his life, and at the last minute, they were so impressed with him that David Peck was going to let him compete. Can you imagine that would? Shawn Rhoden's back in the show, and he's at his all-time best.
They did that to. We said they did that to Serge Dubray, right, before the 75 Olympia.
Yeah.
They told he couldn't compete because he did a porn video or something like that, which wasn't even a porn video. And he goes to the show. He doesn't train, and then he just shows up at the Olympia there to hang out and watch. And they say, "Oh, you want to do the show?" And the fucking guy comes in second and beats Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah. Oh, you sent me the picture of me, and thank you very much.
Yeah,
I put that on Instagram.
I saw you put that on Instagram. There was a picture of Chris and Serge Dubray.
Dave, it brought back so many. Chris, I'm Serge Dubray. He used to love to refer to himself in third person.
Yeah.
I'm the legend, Serge Dubray. Yes, Chris, your little boy, your boy.
Who would you equate him to? Like
Ali,
Muhammad Ali. Yeah,
absolutely, Muhammad Ali. You see how he's dressed in that picture?
Yeah, he was dressed like he was. He owned the city.
Yeah, he'd come to a show like dressed like you'd be like, what type of suit is that? It's probably a Paco Rabanne special or something.
That's funny. Yeah, because most of these bodybuilders they're so big that they can't fit into anything. They look like they're wearing like circus tents. Remember those Ronnie Coleman suits he used to wear?
Oh yeah, that's all he could. Yeah,
he couldn't fit into anything else. They were custom suits, but they were huge.
Yeah,
they looked like they draped the material over like a fat lady, because
exactly what he was like.
He was so big.
They didn't know how to taper it either.
No. I don't get why didn't they? He should have gone to Jay's guy or Phil Heath's got some good suits. I'll give him that much. I've seen him in a fucking couple of good ones. He used to have a new one every year. He won the Olympia there.
Yeah.
Bad news, obviously. It seems like every single show we do, there's always terrible news in our industry. We just talked about the good news. The bad news is that Franco Columbu died, drowned in his hometown of Sardinia.
Did he? Is that how he drowned?
Yeah, he drowned. They airlifted him out of there, and it was too late. I don't know what the circumstances around the drowning were. I think it was at the beach. He's from Sardinia, which is an island off of Italy.
I'd love to go.
He goes to. I didn't know this, but my good friend Rosetta Mortati and Ali Savi know him and know where he goes, and they say he goes to every single year. He goes back to see his family. He has his vegetable garden and his wine vineyard there, and he just loves to spend time there. He's been doing it his whole life. Goes back there all the time and visits. His family's there. And that's like something that he really loves to do. It's something he looks forward to every year. And I don't know what happened. He was swimming and it was a riptide. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I haven't got the details of it yet. But unfortunately, he drowned and died. I always say we all write our own story, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he probably said, I don't want to die in a hospital bed of old age or dementia or heart attack. Let me die in my hometown here.
Yeah, I believe that.
And it was probably a freak accident, I'm sure. But you know what? He probably did. It was probably pain-free, and he's in a better place now. I don't know if you heard. Arnold wrote an Instagram post. Did you read it?
I did read it.
Oh, it was Amanda saw it, and
yeah,
she's like, "You got to read this." And I read it the other night. I actually did a rant video on it because it was so touching, and it was just. I mean, everyone thinks of Arnold as like this ruthless,
He is.
calculating, businessman, and he is. But he actually had real feelings for Franco in the sense that I didn't know that when Arnold came to this country, when Joe brought him over here, he had no friends and he barely spoke English. And he convinced Joe to bring Franco over too, who he had met in Munich, Germany, lifting weights, and he was lifting with him there. Franco obviously being from Italy, but I don't know how they both wound up in Germany for a while, and that's Joe brought over Franco to train with Arnold, and they became, that was it. They were friends for life. They did construction together. They used to play chess. They would go eat together. They did everything together. They were literally best friends.
Yeah, they told a story. Once they told a story somewhere. It was in public that they invited Joe over to eat, and Franco was a big cook and cooked this really big time Italian meal. And they Arnold decided we're going to get Joe drunk.
Oh, really?
and we're gonna ask for more money because they were paying for Joe was paying for their apartment.
Oh, really? Okay.
Weekly salary and blah blah. And so they feed him the meal. Everything's going great as planned. They're laughing. Arnold's cracking jokes.
It was a whole setup, in other words. Yeah,
it was a setup. And halfway through the dinner, Joe says, "By the way, don't ask me for a raise. You're not getting a raise out of me." He didn't want. He
knew. Joe knew.
Joe knew. Listen to me, Jay. Joe knew and told him, don't ask me for a raise.
That's funny. Joe knew the whole Arnold shtick. The sweet talk and the buttering him up.
Yeah, it was listen. I walked into Joe's office once. And people were in the
Joe,
office.
You're looking so young. Oh, my God. I cannot believe it. It's unbelievable, really. Arnold, don't ask me for a raise. Let's have a fun evening here. Pour the wine.
Hey, listen, you got to ask Samir.
Yeah.
It's one of Joe's favorite things to say to Samir, which he had always had the intention to do. Samir, I want to build a building for bodybuilding, which meant he wanted to have a bodybuilding Hall of Fame, and he would always say, "I want to build a building for bodybuilding."
Oh, man!
And that's why if you ever went up to the office, it kind of was.
It was like a Hall of Fame. Yeah, it was. They had the plaques all over and stuff. It was like a museum. That building probably cost a fortune. I bet you. Did Joe sell that building to them when he sold the magazines?
I think.
Because they were in there. Maybe he was leasing it to them.
Yeah, I think he had a lease.
Oh, he didn't own that building?
I don't think he owned 21100 Irwin Avenue.
What a beautiful building that was.
Incredible. Have you driven by it since? It's gone to shit.
It went to shit?
It's like a Class B office building now.
Really? They downgraded it? Wow.
But going up to that bit, can you imagine how
I was a nervous wreck going up there.
Oh, of course. That was the whole shtick.
No, but it was so nice too,
Oh, it was incredible. It was like a Trump building. They had the lobby, the paintings, the 60-foot ceilings when you walk in.
I mean, it was beautiful. That work environment had to be awesome for Joe because it was such a beautiful, beautiful, setup they had there.
Yeah, it was crazy. His office.
Blackman would have died to have that office.
Oh gosh.
He would have given anything for that office.
Yeah. No, Jay Cutler always said it was like going to visit the President of the United States when you visit him.
Yeah.
And you'd have to wait and wait and wait, and sometimes you'd wait you'd have a 2:00 appointment. You'd wait to maybe he can get to see a 3, 4, 5, and.
Oh, really? That long? He'd make you wait?
No, sometimes he wouldn't take the appointment because he's too busy.
Wow. Yeah, that would be great to have a building like that. Oof. But he was making money back then. There's no money in the magazines now.
Hands over fist.
Blackman's probably in a shed right now. We're operating out of.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. Even I went to the newsstand and I saw Muscle and Fitness on the newsstand, and I saw Muscular Development. I'm like, holy shit! Blackman's still on the newsstand. Then I realized it was Muscular Development in Espanol. It was it was Kit's magazine. It was the Spanish magazine.
When I was in Puerto Rico, I picked up the MD, and I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me! They're back in the game."
It was the Espanol.
magazine. It was all in Spanish,
Yeah.
and I realized it was.
Yeah, that's not Blackman's Magazine. He just like leases the name to them. I think that's Kit who does that. It's a brave new world. It's changed completely. The internet has changed everything, and I think for the better, because I think that video is TV is where it's at. I mean, and everyone can do TV now. That's the great thing about the internet, isn't it? I mean, like, you don't have to have like a NBC studios. You can have your computer room, and that's your studios. And everyone has a voice. And if you have a voice that says something that's worthy of hearing, then you know what? You have a popular YouTube channel, and you could actually earn a living monetizing your videos.
Yeah.
It's something that I don't think anyone ever envisioned I envisioned the fact that we were going to have TV on the internet. I envisioned, but I didn't envision it would be to the point where everyone would be able to do it. I didn't think it would ever get to that point.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
I couldn't even figure out how to do TV, for us, and I was willing to pay the money and find, the people and have, the editing video software. I never imagined that you'd be able to stream from your telephone, from your cell phone to YouTube. I mean, that was even beyond what I envisioned. So, I'm happy. Some people say, "Oh, it ruined the." No, it didn't ruin it. It made it better. It gives more access. I mean, who would have thought? There's guys who have YouTube channels that would have been a joke. They never would have had a voice, and evidently they have something worthy of saying because people are listening to them. You can't foo these channels that maybe are guys that just have no credibility because they never competed or anything like that. Because if someone's listening to them, or a lot of people are listening to them, then they must be viable.
No, you're right. I mean, just because they've never competed, or just because they're, shit, people can look at me and you and say, have these guys ever competed? they're like in their 60s and they got like 5-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. No, the funny thing is that, we might be one of the most valid media outlets out there in bodybuilding. In other words, people say the real hardcore people who want to know, the analysis and the in-depth stuff will listen to us because they say, okay, you know what, those guys really know what they're talking about. But then they might still listen to these other fluff, dare I say fluff, but these other guys that are just doing stuff that are based on whatever their own opinions are and whatever they look up online, and they're good at scouring social media for getting the latest gossip stories. That has a place, just like there's TMZ, and then there's the NBC News. There's Fox News, which is trash, and then you have 60 Minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's something for everyone really out there, and that's the beauty of it. And a lot of times, as the stuff, as my dad would say, the pop culture stuff will get way more traffic than the 60 Minute stuff. But the 60 Minutes is what people really value because it's real reporting. You know what I mean? It's using valid reporters, giving accurate information. So there's something for everyone out there, really, is what it amounts to.
Yeah, but I think people like, people like to be entertained, and
which wrap up are you gonna listen to at the Olympia? I won't be there, so take me out of the equation. What wrap up? Am I gonna listen to Chris Aceto and Milos and Samir and Chad Nichols wrap up the Olympia, or am I gonna listen to some guy in his basement, who watched the live stream giving his analysis?
Well, Dave, honestly, the wrap up of the, I've done tons of wrap ups with you all over the globe, really. Yeah. But the prejudging Olympia wrap up, that is a wrap up in which I literally listen to every consonant and vowel sputtered by every single person who's doing the wrap up with you.
Yeah.
Because someone has something interesting or valid or unique, to say that has a lot of truth to it, even if overall their opinion is different than, let's say, my opinion. Right,
but your wrap up will be the most valid, or one of the most valid ones out there, because you know what you're looking at. But I guarantee you won't get the most hits, okay, on your wrap up as some of these guys who sit in their living room and have very popular YouTube channels, because people feel comfortable listening to those guys because they're not intimidating. When we do a wrap up, it's very in depth and extreme, and so the hardcore fans want that analysis. But most of the people who just want to know what happened will listen to the guy who's making it very simplistic for them and not breaking it down too detailed and just giving them the overall gist of what happened, you know.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's different levels for each person. You know, when you first start out, you start at a lower level. As you get more involved in the sport, you want to understand the minutia of what's going on. You tend to go for people. You tend to go to RxMuscle channels like that. Not that we're the only ones out there, but, you know, we're one of the most valid, I would say. Now, I think it's only valid that we talked about Franco Columbu dying. We talked about Hadi Choopan getting into the Olympia. I think we have to talk about your tenant, Phil, whose girlfriend left him and he has no money now, and he might not be able to make the rent, Chris. What are you going to do?
I already called.
Come on, Aceto. Evict me.
It was a challenge. Was it a challenge?
He can't even walk to the grocery store, he said, right?
Yeah, because he's in shambles because his girlfriend left him.
And now he can't pay the rent because she screwed him up because he could have gotten assistance from the government, but not because of her. He didn't, right?
Yeah, and so we'll see how that plays out. I think maybe we'll do maybe you can call him up on Skype.
Yeah, probably next week he'll be like, "Listen, I really need that bathroom fixed again." Yeah, but I feel like I thought you don't have the rent. He goes, "You're gonna make me live like this until I get evicted?"
Yeah,
I need to be able to flush the toilet for the next 6 months, and I'm going to stay here without paying you rent.
He doesn't have money to pay. I'm going to give him a coupon code. I'm going to give him an Instagram page, and I'm going to have him sell Fiberlize.
Yeah, right. Let's put him to work at least. This guy, he's a great salesman.
Yep, and he can use like code number like species 4.
Maybe you could take him to the Olympia with you as your little assistant. You know.
Oh God, he would love that. He would love the girls.
Yeah,
he would crazy.
He can't even afford to go buy cigarettes, right? Did he say that?
Yeah, that's what he said.
The funny thing is, didn't the girlfriend leave because the building is too noisy?
Yeah, she said she had post-traumatic stress syndrome.
So technically, it's your fault that his girlfriend left him.
Yeah, she called me
because you can't control the noise in the building.
It's so funny, Dave. She called me, and I have her number on blocked caller, so she called from like a Connecticut number. I thought it was like an Airbnb person, so I answered the phone.
Yeah.
And what did I tell you, Dave? I said, you watch. When I go out to the Olympia, some like the shit will hit the fan, and he'll call me like 10,000 million times that whole week. You know, listen, I got a faucet leak over here, Chris, and I know you're a little bit busy over there in Vegas, but you're gonna get this faucet fixed.
Come on, and these fucking bed bugs. God damn it. Aceto, you cheap bastard.
You know what? I was watching Shark Tank tonight, one of your favorite shows, and all 5 sharks invested in some bedbug detection system.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. It's a repeat. But the girls came up with this thing.
Yeah, the two girls, and I only watched the last part. I'm like, what are they? I didn't know what. I'm dead serious. I didn't know what they were all excited about, the sharks, but they were investing in some product.
Yeah, everyone must know that bedbugs are a problem, I guess.
Well, you know what? Rhoden's best friend, I think I said this before, he manages a high-end hotel in, I think, outside DC somewhere, or the DC area.
Right.
That's where John's originally from. Mm-hmm. And he said, like, when a tenant, like a, hi, we're the Palumbo family. We think we found this little bug in our room, and if it's a bed bug, they move them to the presidential suite. Just don't write anything on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, because that'll ruin their reputation.
They'll destroy it. So they'll, what I was thinking is I'll go by Phil's, and I'll say, Phil, you're going to live here rent free, and I'm going to get 5 bed bugs, put them in bags. So when I get out to Vegas, I'm going to get one Kamal El Gargni. I'm going to give him one. I'm going to give one to Eduardo Freya. I'm going to keep one. I'll give one to let's see, Jason Lowe.
Right.
One. I get 10 people in the show, and we'll all get pumped rooms.
And Phil could be the person who goes up there and complains. Let him go do all the complaining. So you say your competitors, like, look, they don't have time to go complain. Phil, you're the one who's going to tell to complain to the management about the bed bug situation.
He'd go down with his puppy dog eyes and say, I hate to shut you guys down. I don't want
to own this hotel, right? Yeah.
But, you got this problem. These little itty bitty things called bed bugs.
Holy shit. So the North American Championships was this past weekend. Yep. They probably had like 4 million people in the show. Congratulations, Gary. I'm sure you're a very rich man, Gary Hewitt, from the show. But Gary's built this thing from this. If you remember, the North American was defunct for a couple of years.
It was until he got it.
And no one wanted to do it. And Gary said, "I'll do it." I remember they held it in. In Cleveland, in that shopping mall.
Yep.
I went there a couple of years. I actually liked it there because the mall was right connected to it. And he built the thing up, and it's a monstrosity now. It's huge, and it's profitable. And they now they're holding it in Pittsburgh, obviously, which is much easier for Gary and Jim since they live there. And it's a great show. And they have, and I really applaud Gary. He said to himself, "Look, all these guys who turn pro at the Masters, most of these guys will never make an impact on the open, right? The open scene." In the pro ranks. They're just not good enough. They're older. Why don't I start a show where you actually have to pay an application fee to enter it? It's a master show, and I'll take the money from the application fees, and that'll be the prize money. It'll be like a kitty. And it's successful. They don't have 5 million people in the pro division, but at least these guys have a place to go once they turn pro to compete again. They have the 35 and over. They have 45 and over. They have 50 and over, 60 and over for men. They even had an 80 and over. Remember the guy? Do you remember the guy? What's his name? The guy who won the 80 and over. You remember him? I know you're going to remember him. I used to go to the Masters Nationals every year.
Yeah, you used to love it.
I loved it. And
did they have 80 this year? I think they only had over 70.
No, they had an 80. One guy was in it, James Arrington. James Arrington won. I think he won the 70 and over years ago, and he must have just turned 80 or whatever. And there was no one to contest against him, so he won. He won his age category.
I wonder what he carved on. I wonder what you carve up on when you're 80.
I don't know. Probably the same thing he's been eating his whole life. Now, the feel-good story, I think, of the Masters Pro Open has to be Vinny Galante.
Yeah.
And Vinny and I go back a long way. I helped him actually turn pro at the Masters Nationals a couple years ago. A bunch of years ago, actually. And Vinny has been competing since he's a teen. I mean, you remember Vinny, right? I mean,
I went with Bob Gruskin down to New Jersey to see, I think it was the Suburban, when there were like 400 teenagers. And Jesus. I think he won like the teen, and he won like his class in the Open.
He won the US. Remember, he won his class at the USA really early on, and
when they didn't give the class win.
When they didn't give the class wins, and he just kept missing the pro card at the Nationals for some reason. He kept getting beaten.
He was like the Ron Partlow of that class.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he had like 7 seconds or something.
So he won the 40 and over and the 50 and over. So congratulations, Vinny, man. He had been sending me pictures and showing me what he looked like. I'm like, you look good. I'm like, yeah, good luck, man. I said, I think you're going to do well. So, and he beat a whole bunch of people. He beat a good group of guys. There wasn't like 2 guys in the show.
Yeah, no.
So he got his pro win. So Vinny got his pro win on. He's got 2 pro wins. He can retire now, and he can say, you know what, my career was a success.
He's peeled. So I mean, he was very hard. He looks good.
Yeah, no, he's had injuries over the years that he's been dealing with, and he's always and he gets depressed over it. And I'm like, Vinny, what do you? He's like, I want to compete. I really want to compete one more time. I said, well, do it. It doesn't matter. There's no pressure. No one expects anything from you. I said that makes you dangerous. Because, he's got the good stage presence. He's got the good small waist still. He's got a full head of hair. He looks like he's 30. He doesn't look like he's 50. So congratulations to all the winners, actually. I'm not going to go through all the names, but Vinny,
you'll be here. You'll be here for 3 hours.
Let's talk about the men's bodybuilding open winner. The North American has notoriously been like a show, that we always talked about because Paul Dillette won that show. Ray McNeil won the show. Jimmy Quinn won that show. Dexter Jackson won that show. Who else? Who am I missing? Hakeem Williams.
Yeah, a lot of people.
A lot of great North American overall champions there. And so
Glenda won.
Glenda Murray won the women's, yeah. I think what are the big? I think not Iris Kyle. I don't remember who else, but this year's winner came from the light heavyweight class, which you never see, right? Michael Cleaves. We were looking at pictures of, and I'm like, this guy doesn't look that big to me. I said, Chris, these guys shrinking? And then I realized he won the light heavyweight class and the overall, obviously. What's your prediction for him? Impressed him?
I think I'm impressed with him. I thought he's, I know the lighting is terrible, so it makes a lot of these guys not look hard. Well, I mean, he does look hard. I mean, I think his legs are tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous. I think his front double is a tremendous shot. I think he's got great arms and super V taper. His legs are just fabulous.
He's got to have. He's probably tremendous on stage because to beat the super heavyweight and the heavyweight, Cade Zook.
Well, he's in very, very, very good condition.
I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong.
The light heavy.
He won the super heavyweight class. And the heavyweight class was won by Charlie Williams, who looked really good. So he beat these two guys in the overall. And these guys outweighed him probably by the heavyweight by 25 pounds and the super heavy by probably 35 or 45 pounds,
What do you always say?
And I always think the big guy wins. But you know what? This guy had conditioning and he had good shape and he's got good structure. He'll be a good 212 guy. I mean, it's easy to go to that from that light heavyweight class to the 212 class because you only have like really 10 or 12 pounds you can gain anyway.
Yeah.
And if he puts 10 pounds on his body, he'll look real good.
I think he's competitive now.
Yeah. Yeah, he might be. Maybe he should jump in a show before the end of the year. Although I don't know if there's any shows left.
Yeah, there's still a few around.
Are there any 212s left?
Yeah, there's like 3. I think Romania's got one.
Okay.
There's one out in California and there's one in Niagara Falls.
There you go. Chris Aceto's giving you the go ahead with Michael Cleaves. Michael, I'm sure you're listening to this. You'll contact me. I'll get you on the show for an overall interview because since we weren't there, we definitely want to find out all about you. I'm sure one of your friends will probably contact me and say, "Oh, I'm friends with Mike. I'll give you his number." And we'll take it. I see David Hughes got his pro card in that in the Masters division. Yeah. He won the 50, I think, super heavyweight. Got his pro card. I used to compete with him back in the day.
Yeah, he always had when he was competing an upper body that could definitely was pro worthy, and the legs were always a little like undersized, I think.
I'll tell you a good story, but I remember I was out in California, staying there for like 2 weeks or something like that, and it was the weekend of the North American, or it was the week before the North American, and they had just gotten back there was some show in California that David Hughes won, and he beat Jeff Poulin.
I knew you were going to say Jeff's name.
And
Jeff won the North American.
Now, listen, so Jeff lost to David Hughes, so David Hughes was the favorite going into the North American, or so it seemed, right? And when they got back from the North American, remember, this is before the internet. You had to wait till they got back. I was still in California, I remember. And Poulin came into the gym, and he's like, I won. I said, what? You won? He's like, yeah, I beat David Hughes. I said, what happened? He goes, I outconditioned him. And,
he was killed. Mine for that show, Jeff Poulin.
And so David, this is what year? This must have been in the 90s.
80, no, might have been, let's see.
No, it was in the 90s. It was the 90s. So David Hughes, it's how many years later did he finally got his pro card? 30 years later?
Jeff Poulin was from New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah, he's from your neck of the woods, yeah. Good guy. Real good guy. I still talk to him once in a while on Facebook. But yeah, so David Hughes got his pro card. Congratulations, man. I helped him with his die one year, but he's a good guy. He's a class guy. I'm glad he got it. I didn't know he was still going for it, but you see, if you never give up, sometimes you get what you want. That's the way it works.
Yeah, just the timing was off, that's all.
Mm-hmm. In the figure, Saba Syed wins the overall and gets her pro card. I'm looking at this girl's name. Dabaha Hill won the bikini overall. She's got a program. There's like in the bikini division. Chris, I'm not kidding you. There has to be 35 girls who got their pro card in bikini. Oh, you know what I want to mention? My client, Gator Gates, who I've been working with for the last 2 years, he won the 50 and over category. Got his pro card. I want to really congratulate him. He's been second a few times. Probably more than a few times. He's been third last. I said, look, Gator, just keep showing up. You're right there. He's like one of the coolest guys you ever know. He got like a real cool beard. He braids it up when he's on stage. He's probably got the most entertaining posing routine of all time. You got if you get a chance to watch it, Chris, he's super. Maybe I'll send it to you. I'll text it over to you. Super entertaining. Super great guy from Alabama. He's Susie. Actually, you know who introduced us? Susie Blaylock introduced us.
Susie.
Yeah, Susie's like, you got to work with Gator. I said, I will. So, and Gator actually has a bunch of gyms he owns, and he very big supporter of Species Nutrition too. Sells a lot of it. So, congratulations to Gator for getting that pro card. I got to get him on the show. He'll be a good interview. He's lived a lot of. He sells cars. Used cars. He's got like a million. He's like you and me, Chris. He's like never stops going. This guy. He's like, I sold 3 cars while I was at the show. You know, competing. I said, at least you paid for your application fee.
Yeah.
He wanted to do like the 40 and over. I'm like, to warm up. I'm like, Gator, do you really the $250 really burning a hole in your pocket that bad? Just do the 50 and over. You're gonna win. So he did it. He listened to me. I can't believe how many people are in the show. I probably couldn't read every name in the course of the time it takes us to do the show. It would double the show. I mean, that's how many people are in the show. It's crazy.
A show like that. I mean, Gary, maybe Gary does have some agreement with a hotel, but somebody could come in and block off independently 300 rooms and sell them to the bodybuilders.
Yeah. I think that hotel is very expensive, but you know what? It's so convenient to stay there. And I don't even know if they pay for the venue. I think they that hotel's got to make so much money from that whole week that they're there, because it's like a 4-day show. It's not a 2-day show anymore.
Can you imagine the food service, what they make?
Oh my God. I remember when I used to stay there, because I've stayed there a million times. They have a bodybuilder buffet. So when you go down there, it's pretty much all day. They have like chicken breasts and baked potatoes and sweet potatoes and rice, all plain stuff. You can get the regular food too if you want, but it's on a buffet with a salad bar and everything like that. So I would go, and this is how cool this hotel was. They know how much they're making. They would give you to-go boxes, so I would eat my meal there, and then I would fill up the to-go box with like 5-6 chicken breasts, some baked potatoes and food for the room, so that you didn't have to keep coming down and spending. They didn't even care. They're like, whatever, take what you want. That's how cool they were. And people are weird. I don't mind. I'll eat cold food. It doesn't matter to me. But other guys, like, they'll come down 40 times and go to the buffet because they don't want to eat, food that's 2 hours old or whatever. Mm-hmm. So great. It was great. They got a great setup there. Now I think it's probably because of all the Jim Mannion shows there. They have all surrounding that hotel area. That it's the Sheridan Station Square there. They have all these like very cool. They have like a little mall across the street now. They have restaurants. They have the Hard Rock Cafe. It's like a whole little walk area there where you can go to all these different places, which they didn't have 20 years ago. Obviously, they've built up the place. They got a sushi bar in that I used to always see. Who do you think I used to see there all the time?
Who?
Who would I see in the sushi bar? What's the guy?
Chad the Diet Coach.
Yeah, of course, Chad the Diet Coach. He was in there every single time with his family. Not one time, and he was always taken up like he had like 20 people with him, and it would always bog down the service there because Dad had so many people ordering food there. But it's a great restaurant, actually. Good sushi.
How much money, Dave, have you spent in your lifetime on sushi?
Probably not as much as people would think. I always find, because I know that I like to eat a lot of sushi, so I usually search out the places that have like the sushi, all you can eat type places, and that place we go to in Vegas.
Yes.
What is it called? It's on Flamingo there. I shouldn't even give the name away because not that I'm going to be there this year anyway, but I can't Yama sushi. It's all you can eat. It's not even a buffet. You can just sit down and you just order. You can order as much as you want as long as you don't over order. And it's like $21 or something like that. It's the best deal in town. I mean, can't go wrong. They have the craziest rolls there. It's phenomenal. Matter of fact, I went there one year. I was there, and I stayed, I think, like an extra day, and I went home like Monday. It was like, I think it was an Olympia. I ate there like 4 or 5 times while I was here. It was like every day I was there. They knew me. They knew that they're like, all right, I said, you want us to bring the normal? I said, yeah, just bring my order.
What
I'm
was
one
the
of these people. I don't know. It was whatever rolls. They have all kinds of crazy name rolls there, you know. Super tuna, I don't know. Crazy, nutty, you know, names of all these different rolls. But they were great. They have great food there. There's another place I went to, too. Late at night, there was a place that, a really nice sushi place. And when I went in there, they're like, oh, you know Jay Cutler? Yeah, because Jay must have his places he hits there. I'm like, yeah, of course I know Jay Cutler. Oh, he come in here all the time. He order, and they were telling me what he orders, you know.
Remember when Cody won the USA, me and Cody went driving somewhere to eat, and we just randomly picked a place.
Yeah.
And they had like a name out. They had a bowl named after the J Bowl or whatever, Jay Cutler, because he eats there all the time, and they had some little like a rice and chicken dish named after him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's his hometown, so they better know him and appreciate him there. I also used to go to this place years ago. It was like a hibachi place it was on Sahara. It was off the Strip, and they had Jay on the menu. Like they had a picture of him on the menu. They said he used to sneak over, like it was like a well hidden place. Like, I just went by there by accident, and I was looking for a place to eat. And they said Jay used to come there all the time. This is I think when Jay, but even maybe before Jay won the Olympia even, but he was living in Vegas, you know. So I'm sure if people like came to Long Island and went to certain restaurants, they'd be like, oh, you know Dave Palumbo, because you know I had my own little dives there as well.
Yeah.
So the North American, you know, was a very big success, and there was a lot of pro cards given out. I was just reading off the overall winners. Men's physique, David Cameron. Men's classic, John Lee. Asian kid, really good. I don't know if you've seen his pictures. We'll see him on the pro level for sure. They still have. Can you believe they still have women's bodybuilding?
How many competitors they get?
You know, you got to be the dumbest person in the world. If you're a physique competitor, you should just do bodybuilding. There's like literally like the Masters divisions had more. The Open division had 1 heavyweight, 2 light heavyweights, 5 middleweights, and 3 lightweights. Danielle Willis won the overall. And let me tell you, she could have easily have done the women's physique. She was a genius. She got a pro card, and I guarantee we'll see her. And she's, you know what the truth is? She wasn't really even that ripped. But I guarantee we'll see her on a pro level in the women's physique division. And she'll probably do very well. She got a pro card. Smart move. Good strategy. The Masters divisions were a little more competitive. But, you know, there was like 7-8 people in a class. I don't know why they haven't combined those divisions yet. You know that's my thinking process on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Combine them, make one missile, and call it the Miss Olympia again.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if they listen to me. My ideas usually get accepted after many years.
After getting rejected.
Yeah. Kimberly Smith won women's physique overall, and fitness was won by Abby Bolton. I didn't even know they had fitness at the North American. I guess they did. They always do. So, it's a show that I'm very happy to report about. I'm a show that I think is a great show, but it's also a show I'm very happy I don't go to anymore. It's a very long week. You gotta have patience of steel to go to that show. I used to sit through the whole show, Chris. I would do play-by-play for every single competitor.
Think of the difficulty, really, in judging it, because, you know, you have to pay attention. So I mean, you can't have 95 judges show up for the show. You know what I mean?
Well, what they were doing is when I was just toward the end of when I was going, they were rotating judges around. So you would judge for like 2 hours, and then they would move you to some place. You'd go and get a break, and then other judges would move in, because that's the only way you could actually. You can't really judge well if you're there for 20 hours straight.
That's my point. I mean, just think of the gruelingness it is on a judge. I mean, it's hard for me to judge 3 classes consecutively, because by the third one, you know what
happens, Chris? They start being inconsistent, because you get the same people in 4 classes, and one class they beat this girl, and then the next class that girl beats them, and then the class after, and literally the classes are 10 minutes apart. There's no consistency.
Yeah.
Which, how do you lose to someone you just beat 10 minutes before?
Well, as I always say, when you do switch judges, you get different opinions too.
Of course, but I'm saying sometimes the judges are the same, and you don't even get consistent results, because there's so many people that it's like you're judging like very quickly, But great show, love it. I'm glad, and I think now the North American is open to international people, isn't it? From what I understand,
it's open to, I think,
naturalized citizens, right? Something like that. People with green cards.
Yeah, if you have a green card.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who live in the U.S. with a green card who never were able to do a North American USA or nationals, because you had to be a citizen. Now they changed to North American, right?
You'd always run into people who looked incredible, and they say, I can't compete at the whatever show, the USA, or I can't compete at the North Americas because I'm not a citizen yet. And they may have lived here for a long period of time.
Yeah, and now for people who don't realize, it's called the NPC North America. It used to notoriously be IFBB.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, good news for all the competitors out there. So, Chris, we have this coming week we're going to do a lot of analysis shows. I got to get you, I got to line you up, because I know you're very busy this week, but we got to do an Olympia predictions show and break down. Once we find out what division Hadi will be competing in, I think we got to really do some good analysis on who's out there. Who do we think is going to win? Maybe we'll get I'm not gonna throw any names out there, but we're gonna get a heavy hitter on there with us to put some heavy opinions out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that so far our Olympia analysis stuff and all the iron debates and everything like that have been going pretty well. I don't know if you saw any of the iron debates that we did I had Jose and Sergio on one. I had Guy, Sisternino, and Fuad on one. This week, obviously, we're going to do, it's going to be you and our core group of people that normally analyze these shows. Maybe we should get Milos on. Milos is always good.
Yeah.
These shows. I did a diuretic show with Milos, and people really like that. Milos is people don't realize how smart Milos is. I obviously have a very extensive education. I went to medical school 3 years, and people expect that. But Milos, I don't know what Milos' educational background, but Milos has a very good understanding of how diuretics work and stuff like that. That's why I always like to get him on when we talk about them, especially when we had that girl who just died recently. From theoretically possibly taking too many diuretics. So, we were explaining how, and Milos was explaining how you can take too much potassium-sparing diuretic and raise your potassium levels to deadly amounts. People don't think that. People think, you can never have too much potassium, right? Your muscles look fuller. No, if your serum potassium gets too high, you die. Your heart stops beating. That's how they kill animals. When you bring your pet to the vet to be put to sleep, they inject potassium. They inject you with potassium.
I thought that's what they do in some. I'm serious. Some states for euthanasia or whatever when you get the death penalty.
Well, yeah, but it's a bunch of different things. It's a cocktail of stuff. But I'm just saying that potassium is what stops the heart from beating, because the potassium should be inside the heart muscle, not outside the muscle. When it changes the electrical gradient. So when you have too much potassium in your bloodstream, the muscles can't contract. That's why they start to seize up. That's what happened to Momo Benaziza. And that's what Milos was explaining, that when Momo, the paramedics came, they gave him potassium, which killed him. They killed him. They could have saved him. All they had to do was give him a shot of Lasix, because Lasix would have gotten rid of the potassium.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And then, Milos loves to tell the story about how he saved, what's his name? Mustafa Muhammad. It's a great story because they were going to kill him too, and then Milos is like, no. He went to the hospital and he was screaming and they probably didn't even know what he was saying because Milos is hard to understand. He's like, no potassium, and they're like, who are you? Who's this guy? Get him out of here. He's like, you're going to kill him, and he's like, at least do a blood test on him first before you give him the potassium, and they did, and they found out his potassium was super high, and Milos was right. They said you saved your friend's life. A week later at the next show, Mustafa did the same thing again. He overloaded on potassium, almost killed himself again. And they had to go to the hospital.
Want to get that water fat.
Oh my God. Milos came into his room and he had like 40 bananas, banana peels laying on the thing. Milos said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You almost died last week. What are you crazy? You know how much potassium is in bananas? You can't eat all this, and you're taking potassium-sparing diuretics." And sure enough, his whole body started to seize up again.
Funny, Egyptians have problem with getting super peeled. The bigger guys.
They have water bags, evidently. Yeah. Nasser was very watery too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he had Chad to drop the water with him, but
yeah.
I mean, with
Ramy looks like he's watery too, right?
Yeah, Ramy or Muhammad Mustafa, just the big guys, Even the guy I was helping, holds a ton of water.
Yeah. And I don't think it's the drugs necessarily. I just think that inherently their nationality, I don't know if you know what their genetics makes them hold water. I think African Americans hold water more than regular Caucasian white people do.
I'm trying to think.
I find that when I work with black men and women, they tend to hold more water and they need a little bit more diuretic usually to get drier.
Kai, Dexter, who else are the big time African American?
Kai was a huge water holder. Remember, Kai would be like 285 at the 3 days before the Arnold, and then he'd come in on stage. Oscar would get him down to like 255.
Yeah,
he would lose 30 pounds of water in 3 days.
Speaking of Oscar, maybe you can have Oscar on a prediction show or evaluation show.
Yeah, I think Oscar's helping Akeem, isn't he?
Yeah, speaking of black bodybuilders.
Akeem looks great, by the way. I saw a picture on Instagram. I was very impressed with him. I don't know if you saw it.
He could I mean...
He's a sleeper. He could be a top 6 guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I had Juan on, too. I think Juan looks amazing now. I think Juan could be a top 6 guy for sure this year.
Yeah, just...
You got to look at his Instagram. Look at some of the pictures he's been posting. He's impressive, very impressive. You know what? I think Juan's problem was his and I discussed this with him when I interviewed him. I don't think we put the interview up yet, but it will go up. When he was younger, his metabolism was so fast that he had to eat like ridiculous amounts of food, and it's just, when you're gorging on all kinds of junk food, it's just you get a weird look to your body. Now that his metabolism has slowed down a little bit, he can eat cleaner foods. More a high quantity of them, but cleaner foods. And I think his body has a better look because of that.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I know exactly what you mean.
It's hard to load on crap, or all crap. And there's something to loading on a little bit of crap, but your body just, stores glycogen better when you're eating clean sources of glycogen, of carbs, because they break down more easily in your intestinal tract, and they absorb better.
Juan looks totally peeled here in the back shot.
Yeah, he's good. Totally. Very good.
He's full. Yeah, this is the best Juan for sure.
I think we're going to see, this is going to be the year that Juan, Akeem, and John De La Rosa, all New Yorkers, all guys who have been in my living room before, I think we're going to see them, make their mark, especially with a lot of missing guys in the Olympia lineup. I think this is going to be an opportunity for them to crack that top 6, possibly.
Well, it's such a different lineup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just such a different lineup without Rhoden there, without Phil there, without Ramy there.
Joshua Artowitz not there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different lineup without him there too, because those guys that you just mentioned, would be completely dwarfed. By those guys that I mentioned.
I can't wait to see what Cedric looks like. I really hope he brings it just for his own. That could be a very good storyline if Cedric really brings it. Think about how exciting that would be with his big mouth, that he'd be, giving interviews and talks to the audience and stuff like that. You know, he could be a great character if he could really step up and do well at this Olympia. It's like he's like the wild card. You know how like in football they have the wild card team, they give the special wild card berth, and every once in a while the wild card team will win the Super Bowl. They have to do more games and they go through a lot more rigmarole because you get the wild card game, but they somehow get through it and they win the. Now how did the wild card team didn't even win the division and they win the Super Bowl? That would be Cedric. He's like the wild card in this lineup.
Well, I mean the fact is that of this people in this lineup, people talk about, oh, what if Kai was in the lineup? He is the only guy who's beaten Kai in a bodybuilding show outside recently.
True.
And that was he beat him in prejudging and he beat him in finals in that one show. Mm-hmm. And it's one show, but it did happen.
True.
Just like
But does that mean that Cedric's better than everyone else, or does it mean that Kai just is not as good as he was, and he would have lost to a Ruli Winkler or a Brandon Curry too? I don't know.
No, it doesn't mean that, because I don't think. A really good Kai is not losing to the people you just mentioned.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, even a really good Kai still has glutes and hams that put those guys you just mentioned to shame.
True.
Cross-threaded quads. So that's nothing. Not to take anything away. Just pointing out the interesting fact. When people say, "Oh, that guy's a wild card," or this guy is a dark horse, or this guy could do X, Y, Z. We do that hypothetically, but that's not hypothetically with Cedric. He's beaten.
Right. Cedric is the one person who's really not being talked about that really who could shock everyone and win the Olympia.
That's
because
good
it is good for him. There's no one else in the lineup who's coming out of nowhere and is going to win the Olympia. It's just not happening. There's no one we don't know about. You know what I mean? Cedric is that one guy that everyone's like, you know what? This guy just always messes up the Olympia. I'm not even going to put him on my top prediction list, but he's the guy who can time all his kookiness and all the crazy stuff that he does to get himself ready for these shows. He could time it just right, and on that day, prejudging, he just happens to nail it perfectly. And guess what? No one has a chance against this guy, because he's that good. That could be Cedric. Unfortunately, as his history has proven, the Olympia has not been very kind to Cedric, between missing shows for having to go to the hospital for throwing up and stuff like that, or just mistiming his peak, being too flat, too full, too this, to that. He just seems to have trouble. But if he hits it, these other guys have got big problems, because he's got the height, he's got the structure, he's got the beautiful presentation, and he's got a Mr. Olympia physique is really what it amounts to. It's just a matter of, can he put it together on that day?
No, I think I'd agree with you almost 100%.
Yeah. Anyway, it's exciting to speculate, and we'll speculate when we do our prediction show this week.
Even though I still call it the asterisk Olympia.
Sucked. Yeah, you're right, because you know what? When you don't have the reigning Mr. Olympia, you can't really say it's legitimate. It's legitimate in a sense, because you know what? It wasn't like he just said, okay, you know what? I won the Olympia last year. I'm not going to do the show. He wants to do the show, and he's ready to do the show, and that's where the asterisk comes from. But you know what? If he gets cleared in his court case this year and he comes back next year to do the Olympia, and you have a new champ, which you will, that will make next year's Olympia unbelievable, off the charts. Because it's like we're the revenge of Rhoden, so to speak. It's like the revenge of the Jedi.
You're writing it. You're making another movie.
I'm making another movie, right? I'm building up some drama for next year. I can only hope that Shawn gets exonerated and he doesn't have to go to jail, but. He's got a much bigger battle than the Olympia ahead of him these next couple months, and like I said, I hope it works out for him. But the court will decide that, not you or I. All right, Chris, let's wrap things up. Like I said, we'll be doing a lot of coverage, and all our coverage is sponsored by Chemical Warfare, and they've stepped up to the plate. They'll be sponsoring all the Olympia coverage before, after, and of course at the weekend of the show. Chris, you'll be leaving next Monday?
No, I leave Friday, dude.
Oh, so you're going to be there for like a full, over a week, really.
10 people in the show.
I know. But are all 10 people going to be there as early as you are? Or are you just getting there to set up base camp?
One that takes you, I'm coming from Maine, there's no direct flight.
That's true. It takes 2 days to get there.
2, I'm just, it takes me a day to decompress from, like, my kids and Phil. Not Phil Heath, Phil, my tenant. So, no, I just like to get there early, get situated, get relaxed, get my own.
True. Amanda pointed out something that I didn't even realize. For some reason, I thought we talked about it last week, but that would have been impossible because we didn't have the baby last week. I had my daughter was born, Shayla Elizabeth Palumbo.
Right before it started, you just went right over it. Or
maybe I know. You know why? Because I thought we talked about it already. That's how messed up I am. My whole time frame is all screwed up.
You were so updated on the gossip. I'm like, well, how could you get updated this week? You were having a baby.
I was. Well, I wasn't having a baby. Amanda was having a baby on Thursday,
make that distinction,
August 29th. She was 8 pounds 6 ounces. She broke all the records. All the Palumbo family records. Logan and Aria were only 7'5" or around there. So she's a pound heavier than everyone else.
You gotta do what I do, Dave. I kid. I say this is going in the Hall of Fame. I keep like little drawings, like all this little mementos.
Yeah, I keep all that stuff too. Yeah.
And I say someday I'm gonna take a room and I'm gonna put it all in there, like this is the first outfit. Yeah. This is your first. Blah 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 blah.
I'll tell you one good thing. Amanda really plans all these pregnancies very, very well. She's like, all right, I got to fill the Amazon order. We got to do it on Thursday, and it's going to take me this many hours, and that's it. I'm done. Literally 2 pushes, the baby was out, and we were done. So she did great, and she got the epidural again. She was debating not doing it, and then when those labor pains come on, the woman, she's like, I think I should get it.
Did you get it?
Yeah. What? Yeah, she got it.
Did you get it?
I needed an epidural too. No, it's very nerve-wracking to sit there and watch. Although I've done it before, obviously, so now I know what to expect. But it's still very nerve-wracking because you really have no control over anything. As the father.
Do you remember this? This is a true story. I texted you from delivery and I said, Dave, is Nubane okay for the baby? They gave my wife Nubane.
They offered her Nubane. She was like rolling her eyes, like oh, I know you love this, but
No, a bodybuilder would say, no, we won't take it, but we'll take it for takeout.
Well, can we take it home with us? Yeah, we'll take it. We'll go to go. We'll take a to-go box of Nubane. Evidently, I always heard that. I didn't really know that they really used it, but evidently Nubane, they'll put it right into your IV to relax you if you want. Yeah. And who knows? They might even put it in her eye. She wouldn't even know.
Yep.
They didn't use it, but they put. Don't they put fentanyl in the?
They put fentanyl. I didn't take Nubane.
Fentanyl's way stronger than Nubane. I would have opted for the Nubane option personally, but.
They put that in your epidural.
Oh, the epidural. Yeah, the epidural. They put.
I'm not a drug addict.
No, I don't even need that anymore. I haven't taken a shot of Nubane. Can you believe it? For like 25 years. Once I stop something, I'm done.
Of course.
But you know what? The reason they give it to the pregnant women and women in labor is because it really has no side effects on the baby. And that's the key.
Oh, that's an interesting snippet. Well, which is why, isn't that funny? Which I
your wife did take the Nubane, though, right?
Well, I was worried. Yes, because I was worried that it would be bad for the baby, so I had to consult with you.
Yeah, I said it's fine. Yeah,
because I thought the doctors would be wrong, just like when Milos was in with Mohammed Mustafa in the hospital, and they were getting ready to.
Chris is like, "Can my wife take Nubane?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Did she like it?
Huh?
Did she like it?
Oh, just that was it. It was easy to deliver from there.
So did she have an epidural too? I don't remember.
Listen, the funny thing with the epidural, they brought in the epidural, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't use it. Do you think I got billed for it?
You got billed?
Of course I did.
They didn't even give it the epidural, and you still got billed for it?
No, no, it didn't. And I had to fight. I fought to get it off the bill.
Oh, you didn't get it off? It's like trying to get like an appetizer off the restaurant bill. You're like, look, you brought it, but it was the wrong appetizer. We didn't eat it. I'm not paying for it.
And the reason I did that, Dave, I almost had to pull you in as like a witness. Because I said no.
Chris almost
because
subpoenaed
you
me.
used
Yeah.
Nubane. You used Nubane because I specifically.
You
I have
remembered.
this-
Yeah, you remembered the debate.
I have this radio show, and there's this guy, and he's a guru, and he knows everything. His name's Dave Palumbo, and I had to text him. Is Nubane okay?
That's funny. So your wife delivered on Nubane. That's great. See,
Yeah.
worked out. So yeah, we got my daughter right here. My wife's filling orders now. She's a trooper. She doesn't want to fall behind. So even though tomorrow's Labor Day, we're working tonight, catching up. So for anyone out there who's wondering where your orders are, be patient.
There's no such thing as catching up. My wife told me.
No, you can't catch up because as soon as you catch up, an hour later you're falling behind again.
I gave up that years ago. Where I was saying, I'm just going to go down and work for like 19 hours and catch up because then I'll be working, like.
Yeah. But you know how it is. You get into a routine, and I always say that you can adapt to anything. It's just, it's the first couple of days when it's new that you don't really know, all right, how am I going to work this out or how am I going to do it? But you know what? You figure it out and you make it work, and that's all there is to it. I always say in like 10 years, although, Chris, you were out of the woods already. Your kids were in high school and stuff like that, and you decided to continue having more kids. But at some point, all our kids are going to be, older, and we're going to be like, it wasn't that bad. You forget about how, all the drama you go through, raising these kids.
I got jealous of you. I brought my high school kids over to your house, and
yeah, and then you decided to have a couple new ones.
Yeah, and I said, well, wait a minute. Why can't we have another one?
You want to have more though. That's the crazy thing, right?
Well, you know what? Listen, I think that I think for people who have kids, maybe not. I just, my personal opinion is, it is now. I say, gosh, why didn't I have more? Because like they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of headaches, of course, right?
Yeah, no, they're fun. It's
a
fun
lot of
watching yourself. It's like reliving your own childhood. It's like you're giving advice. I told my friend Justin, I said, having kids is like giving advice to yourself as you were growing up.
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself? Not that they're going to listen to you, but at least you can tell them what you know that you could have done better or avoided, problems with. And it's like you're advising yourself again. That's the best way I can describe it.
It's nonstop.
It's like if you went back in a time machine and you were able to like talk to yourself. Listen, don't duck under that air conditioning unit. You're going to open up your head and you're going to need 25 stitches. And you do it anyway, of course.
Everything begins with don't do this, don't do
this,
that.
yeah.
Do this, don't do that.
Yeah. I remember Eddie Murphy did a skit where he was like talking about this. I don't even remember. It was a kid who was like misbehaving in a restaurant. Jeffrey this, Jeffrey that. Don't do this, don't do that. Jeffrey. Now I know what he's talking about. My wife and I are like, Logan, don't do this. Don't go there. Don't jump off the couch. His new thing is he likes to jump off things to see how far he can jump and acrobatics and stuff like that. And he doesn't have the greatest center of he's not the most graceful. He definitely gets hurt, but he doesn't care. Gets up and does it again.
Well, that's like we were out to eat the other night, and there was this like couple, and they had like their 5-year-old, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could never bring my 5-year-old here. Not that he's like, he's definitely quote behaves, but just he couldn't sit that long and that comfortably. He'd be like going, he had to get up and move.
Right. Isn't it amazing how you see these other kids, like these other parents, they don't move from the table. They're perfectly behaved. I'm like, what planet are these kids from? That's not my kids, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you got a little, I don't know.
Or people come by the table, we'll be at breakfast, like we'll go out to like an omelet place. They'll be like, oh, your kids are so well behaved. My wife's like, we've only been here 5 minutes.
Yeah, give it a little time.
give a little time to get comfortable. They'll be running all over the place. And the funny thing is, and Amanda says it to me all the time. She's like, you were probably just like him. I'm like, I think I was. I admit it.
Yeah, there's a little breakfast place in Portland where a lady, she got in trouble. It made national news. She put a sign on the door, no kids.
No kids.
She just had it with like the kids running around and you know what I mean, just like the commotion. And
they always put us in the back corner someplace. They know as soon as we walk in, they'll like take them to the back. And I'm glad they do because I don't want to disturb people. I feel bad that we're disturbing people.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris, let's wrap this thing up. we're getting, as we inch closer and closer to the Olympia weekend. This is, I guess, next week you'll be in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I'll be doing the show from Vegas.
That'll be our pre-Olympia show next week.
Yeah.
This week, we're going to be doing some good analysis shows and some more iron debates. Make sure you guys stay tuned to all the pre-Olympia coverage on the RxMuscle.com website and the RxMuscle YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the coverage. I always have people say to me, oh, you should do an interview with this person. You should talk about this. I'm like, don't you guys watch all the content we have? Guys, subscribe to the channel if you like our stuff. Because this way you don't miss anything. They send you a notification every time we put a new thing up. And make sure you turn on your notifications on your YouTube so that they make sure they do send you the notification. All right, Chris, until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.
good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.